All right, let's talk finance. This is net worth in the United States by age bracket, 10-year age bracket. Now, as you get older, you get better at your job, you get raises, you start businesses, maybe you run a farm, you just get richer. But the real magic happens at age 50, because that's when your single largest expense, your last kid, leaves home and is someone else's problem. A lot of people just turned 50, huh? All right. And then with that extra money, you pay down your second biggest expense, which is typically your mortgage. And by 55, on average, that's paid down to zero. So that last decade, 55 to 64, the last decade that you're working is the wealthiest you will ever be. And the capital that you generate in that decade of your life is what drives the entire global system. It is literally where the money is. That is 70% of global private capital. Now you turn 65 and that changes. If there's a currency crash or a market crash, you won't have the income to recover. So you have to liquidate your holdings and go from, say, stocks and bonds to T-bills and cash. Perfectly normal. Everybody does it. And normally it doesn't matter, because normally we have a demographic structure that looks like this. It's a standard pyramid. Children on the bottom, young adults, mature adults, retirees at the top, men on one side, women on the other. This is Nigeria, nearly pre-industrial. And normally, when you turn 65 in a system like this, it doesn't matter, because there's more people 64 below and 63 below that. And the proportion has more or less held in this shape for the entirety of human history. Until 1945. Because that's when the Americans changed the way the world worked. At the end of the war, we found ourselves facing down Stalin and the Red Army. We're like, oh, we're gonna need some help with this one. And so we did the most reliable thing we could to build up an alliance. We bought it. We created globalization. We used our Navy to patrol the global ocean so that anyone could go anywhere at any time and interface in any market with any partner. And that changed the way national economics worked. Pre-1945, if you had food, oil, coal, and iron ore, you could industrialize and develop and expand. But if you lacked any of those, you were probably a colony. 1945 and globalization changed that. Now anyone could go and trade for anything, so you only needed one of the four. You could trade for the others. So at different paces, from different starting points, we all started down the path towards industrialization. And when you industrialize, family economics changes, because you move off of the farm and into the city to take the industrial jobs. On the farm, kids are free labor. You have as many as you can, because free is great. But in an urban condo, kids are really expensive, really loud, really annoying, really dirty habits. And adults aren't dumb, so we had fewer of them. And 70 years on, we changed from this to this. Suddenly it matters if you turn 65. Baby boomers are the largest generation we've ever had. They're retiring. In fact, in the fourth quarter of last year, we hit the midpoint. Half of them have already retired. And they've liquidated their stocks and their bonds, and they've gone into T-bills and cash, and the velocity of money has already gone into screeching reverse. We've known that this has been coming since the last baby boomer was born in 1966. Are you ready? Nobody is. That means that between January of 2021 and December of this year, the cost of capital always had to go up by at least a factor of 5 in the United States. We're about halfway through that transition. There's a long way to go. And this is independent of anything the Federal Reserve does. The fact that we're struggling with a potentially turning economy, business cycle, inflation, that's just bad luck. There's also a workforce issue here. Boomers, largest generation ever. The Zoomers are the smallest generation ever. Last calendar year, the difference between the exiting Boomers and the entering Zoomers was 400,000 worker shortage. That figure will increase each and every year until 2034, when it will peak at 900,000. How do I know this? All the Zoomers are already here. We already know the precise inflow into the workforce for the next 20 years. Is that bad? Yeah, but it is so much worse everywhere else. Now, those blue arrows in the US one, those are pointing towards the millennials, and they are the people who will save us all. Literally just threw up in my mouth a little bit. The baby boomers are right now in their 20s and their 30s. They're at the peak of their consumption, and that consumption is driving our economy right now. If it wasn't for millennial consumption since 2007, we would have already had at least 3 recessions. In addition, in 10 years, the
United States is facing a looming workforce crisis as the baby boomer generation reaches retirement age. This demographic shift is poised to have a significant impact on the country's economy and labor force, with potential consequences that extend far beyond individual retirement savings and pensions. The baby boomer generation, born between 1946 and 1964, represents a significant portion of the U.S. population. As this cohort continues to age, many are leaving the workforce, either by choice or due to mandatory retirement policies. According to a report by the Pew Research Center, roughly 10,000 baby boomers reach retirement age every day, a trend that is expected to continue for the next decade. While retirement is a natural and expected part of the life cycle, the sheer size of the baby boomer generation means that its exit from the labor force will have a substantial impact on the economy. As older workers retire, they take with them years of experience and knowledge, leaving behind a gap in institutional memory and expertise. In addition, many of these retirees hold senior-level positions and have leadership skills that are not easily replaced. The departure of baby boomers from the workforce also has implications for Social Security, Medicare, and other government programs that support older Americans. With fewer people paying into these programs and more people drawing benefits, there is concern that the system may become unsustainable in the long term. Furthermore, the retirement of the baby boomer generation could exacerbate existing labor shortages in certain industries. For example, the healthcare sector is already experiencing a shortage of workers, and this trend is expected to continue as the demand for healthcare services grows with the aging population. Similarly, skilled trades such as construction and manufacturing may struggle to find qualified workers to replace retiring employees.